Disaster struck, heartwarming story of a sleeping woman in row 10 who revealed amazing secrets. Claire couldn't shake the butterflies churning in her stomach as she boarded the aircraft bound for Chicago, where a job interview awaited a chance to break free from her monotonous life serving coffee and pancakes at the diner in her small Midwestern town. As she settled into her seat in row 10, every whispering heartbeat seemed louder than the roaring engines. Next to her, a frail elderly woman slept soundly, a weathered journal cradled in her hands, its pages worn but giving the impression of countless secrets waiting to be unveiled. Without warning, the plane hit a pocket of turbulence, causing the cabin to tremble like the frightened heart of its passengers. Gasps echoed throughout the space, the overhead bins rattled, and panic rose like steam from a boiling pot. In that moment, Claire's instincts kicked in. She remembered her mother, how she had rallied the community in times of crisis, fostering courage in the hearts of others. Claire inhaled deeply, transforming her anxiety into assurance. "It's okay, folks." She called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Just a little bump, let us stay calm." Guiding those around her, she urged fellow passengers to help others, directing them to support the frazzled flight attendants. Her demeanor radiated confidence, allowing peace to settle over the chaotic atmosphere. Suddenly, the elderly woman jolted awake, her eyes a crystal blue yet weary. "What is happening?" she asked, voice trembling slightly. "Oh dear. I think it's just turbulence," Claire replied, offering a reassuring smile. "I'm Claire, by the way." "I'm Agnes," the woman said, still a little dazed. Once the plane steadied, Agnes began sharing stories of her past, revealing her life as a civil rights activist. Claire listened intently, her heart dancing with each tale of resilience against injustice, loss, and the strength of community. "It wasn't easy," Agnes said, her voice now firm with the weight of experience. "But we changed the world one heart at a time." In that cramped cabin, amid the orange glow of the receding sun, Claire felt clouds of doubt begin to lift. Her dreams for Marcus felt closer. The words spilled from Agnes's lips like a flood, washing over Claire. "You never know how your struggles might touch the lives of others." Before Claire could catch her breath, Agnes abruptly fell silent, her small presence dissipating into thin air. Claire turned, startled. The seat was empty, but the journal remained, like a ghost whispering secrets of the past. Heart racing, Claire opened the book, revealing pages filled with wisdom and heartfelt reflections. Was this truly the legacy of a woman who had fought through fire and fear? The flight began its final descent, and Claire's sense of urgency shifted. She could feel a fire igniting within her as she turned to face the realities of her impending interview, a chance to write a new chapter for herself and Marcus. She was still perched on the precipice of the American dream, but doubt lurked in the shadows of her mind. Her strengths and scars collided as she prepared to reclaim her story. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the interviewer's critical gaze met hers, Claire's heart pounded against her ribcage. Would she rise above the labels and embody the spirit Agnes had left with her? The question loomed larger than life. Was she strong enough to fight for her own dignity and that of her son? This was just the beginning of a journey that could change everything. She could feel the resolve building within her. What was truly worth fighting for? And could she navigate such a profound transition with hope alive in her heart? The moment Claire stepped into the conference room, her pulse quickened. The tall glass windows overlooking the city seemed to magnify her nerves. She set her chin higher, recalling Agnes's words about courage. "Thank you for coming, Claire," the interviewer, a well-dressed man with sharp features, said, glancing at her resume. She could see the skepticism behind his eyes. She couldn't blame him, though. She was just another candidate in a long line of hopefuls. The soft hum of the air conditioning matched the cadence of her racing thoughts. "Why do you want to work for us?" he asked, his tone professional but devoid of warmth. It hit Claire like a bolt. This was her moment. "I want to make a difference," she began, trying to weave in the passion she felt about the role. "I believe that every challenge can be an opportunity for change, and I want to help people see that." He arched an eyebrow, unconvinced. "Interesting approach. But you have minimal experience in this field." "True." But Claire's life had been a series of experiences, each shaping her resilience. She thought of the late-night shifts at the diner, the conversation with the elderly regulars who shared their stories, and her struggles to provide for Marcus. "I may not have conventional experience," she said, feeling a surge of courage, "but I understand the human experience. I know what it's like to fight for what you believe in and to care for others, even when it feels impossible." The interviewer seemed taken aback for a moment. His expression softened, and for just a heartbeat, Claire felt a connection and understanding that she had something valuable to offer. "That's a unique perspective," he said after a pause. "But tell me, what drives you?" Her breath hitched. She had to be honest. "My son, Marcus. I want to show him that we can rise above our circumstances, that dreams can turn into reality if we're willing to fight for them." As the words left her mouth, a weight lifted from her shoulders. She felt stronger, more grounded. Each syllable was a promise to herself and to Marcus. "Okay," the interviewer nodded, scribbling notes. "Let us explore that further." They discussed her ideas on community engagement, drawing from Agnes's legacy. Claire spoke with passion, her earlier nervousness transforming into a firm sense of purpose. She lost track of time, engrossed in the dialogue. Yet just as she started to feel optimistic, the conversation shifted to qualifications, and doubts started creeping back in. Could she truly match up to their expectations? The shadows of uncertainty loomed once more. After what felt like an eternity, the meeting ended. Claire emerged into the bustling city, heart racing from emotions and adrenaline. The sky was painted gold as the sun began to set, and for a moment, she felt invincible. But just as quickly as that feeling blossomed, it wilted. Had she done enough? Would they see the value she knew she could bring? Outside, Claire leaned against the cool brick of a nearby building, a wave of emotions washing over her. Thoughts of Marcus flooded in, his smile, his laughter, and the hope she held for him to have a better life. But what if this was another failed attempt? What if she let him down again? The fear threatened to drown her. Then, as if summoned by her thoughts, Claire felt something in her pocket. It was the journal from Agnes. She pulled it out, and the pages began to flutter, as if urging her to open them. This was not just a book, it was a conduit of wisdom, a connection to a woman who had embodied perseverance. Holding it tightly, she whispered to herself, "I want to let fear decide my fate." With newfound determination, Claire closed her eyes, envisioning a future filled with possibility. She had a voice, she had hope, and maybe, just maybe, this chapter in her life was just beginning. But a ringing phone shattered the moment of serenity, and as she picked it up, her heart sank. It was Marcus's school. There was an emergency. Claire glanced at the journal one last time, feeling the weight of the moment. What would it reveal next? Claire's heart raced as she listened to the voice on the other end of the line. The words were frantic, each syllable hammering her chest with dread. There had been an accident at Marcus's school. He was okay, they assured her, but he had been involved. It felt like the floor dropped out from under her. "Just come quickly," the voice urged before hanging up. With a shaky breath, Claire slipped the journal back into her pocket and sprinted down the bustling sidewalk. The vibrant city around her blurred, she only had one thing on her mind: Marcus. The energy of the crowds, the glowing storefronts, everything faded into the background, becoming noise as she concentrated on getting to her son. The bus stop was crowded, and Claire felt a wave of frustration as she waited. Minutes felt like hours. She couldn't shake the sight of Marcus's worried face from her mind. Would he be scared? Could she protect him, even now? The thought stung, igniting that familiar fear that twisted in her gut. Finally, the bus arrived, and she squeezed her way aboard. As they drove, she stared out the window, the rush of buildings past almost hypnotic. Each stop brought her closer to her son, but the anxiety suffocated her. She felt vulnerable yet fierce, a warrior on a mission. She needed to be strong for Marcus. When the bus lurched to a stop, she leaped off and hurried toward the school. The unmistakable sound of sirens filled the air. A knot tightened in her throat as she approached the building and saw parents milling about, faces etched in worry. Communities unite in times of crisis, and Claire knew she wasn't alone, yet the crowd felt isolating. Every heartbeat echoed inside her head as she navigated through the throng of anxious parents. Her body pushed forward, almost propelled by an invisible force. Then, she spotted him. Marcus stood a few yards away, talking with a counselor, his little face pale but composed. Relief flooded through her, tearing up the worry that had knotted her stomach. She broke away from the crowd and rushed to him. "Marcus!" she cried, kneeling down. His blue eyes widened, and relief washed over his face. He wrapped his fingers around hers tightly. "Mom! I'm okay. I promise." Claire pulled him into an embrace, the mix of fear and love overwhelming. "Thank goodness you're all right," she whispered as he buried his face into her shoulder. "What happened?" Claire asked gently, pulling back to look him in the eyes. She wiped a tear that had slipped down her cheek. "There was a drill," he said, his voice shaky but steady. "We had to practice what to do in case of emergencies, but I got scared." "That's perfectly okay, sweetheart. It's just practice." She breathed deeply, grateful it wasn't worse but still shaken by the thought. As they walked away from the school together, Claire realized something profound. She had always thought of Marcus's safety as her sole responsibility, yet in those moments of panic, she felt another layer of connection. She was his shield, but he was also her compass. Holding his hand tightly, she began to see that her journey to find purpose would also carve a path for him. The job interview felt far away now, she needed to focus on the present. But thoughts crept back in. It couldn't just be about survival, it needed to be about thriving, about showing Marcus that life could be both beautiful and challenging. Suddenly, the journal in her pocket felt alive again. What lessons would it impart now? As they stepped onto the familiar sidewalk leading home, she felt it urging her on. "Let us read that journal together tonight," Claire said, looking down at Marcus, who smiled up at her. But just as they turned the corner, a figure loomed in the distance, a familiar silhouette that suddenly sent Claire's heart racing again. Hadn't she seen this person before? She felt her stomach churn as the figure approached, a revelation of sorts that might change everything once more. What did it mean for her and Marcus? The silhouette stepped closer, and Claire's heart pounded louder. It was a tall figure, familiar yet distant, as if time had warped the memory of their last encounter. She squinted, trying to make sense of the swirling mix of emotions and shadows that filled her mind. "Claire!" the figure called, voice piercing through the chaos. It was Angela, her old friend from college. Claire had nearly forgotten about her. "Angela!" Claire managed, surprised how joy and apprehension mixed like oil and water. Angela looked different, more mature perhaps, but the same shimmer of warmth danced in her eyes. "What are you doing here?" Claire asked, hesitantly releasing Marcus's grip to take a step toward her friend. "I heard about the incident. I came to see if you and Marcus were okay," Angela said, her brow knitted with concern. "I was just in the neighborhood." "It's been a strange day," Claire replied, glancing back at Marcus, who stood quietly, observing their interaction with curious eyes. "He's all right now, but it was scary for a moment." Angela nodded, her expression softening as she crouched down to Marcus's level. "I'm glad to see you're okay, kiddo. Drills can be pretty alarming, can't they?" "Yeah," Marcus replied, his voice small. "But my mom was there, and she said it was just practice. Claire felt a swell of pride at his brave words. She had been ready to wrap him in bubble wrap, yet there he stood, composed and ready to face what life threw at him. She turned to Angela, ready to share this small victory of parenting. Life is just unpredictable, isn't it? Claire mused, her fingers tracing the edge of the journal in her pocket. I thought I was prepared, but today was a wake-up call. Totally, Angela replied. It's amazing how quickly things can flip on you. But it sounds like you've got a great kid, Claire. It's all about showing them love in the chaos. Marcus smiled at Angela, and Claire felt warmth spread through her heart. She couldn't remember the last time she felt such a pure connection, standing with her son and an old friend, both strong and vulnerable at the same time. Just then, a distant siren blared, drawing them back into the moment. The aftermath of the incident still lingered heavily in the air, a reminder of their fragile reality. Do you think maybe we could grab some lunch together? Angela suggested, breaking the momentary silence. I really want to catch up. There's a cute cafe around here. Claire hesitated. She felt the pull of responsibilities, the fear of opening up. But she also knew that connection was crucial, especially now. Sure, she finally agreed, taking a deep breath. Why not? I think we could both use some comfort food. The three of them started to walk towards the cafe, and a comforting warmth filled Claire's heart, mixing with hope. As they chatted about everything and nothing, she felt layers of solitude start to peel away. Maybe, just maybe, the world was not as scary as she had thought, but as they reached the cafe, Claire remembered the journal. It was full of secrets and lessons waiting to be uncovered. What door could it unlock for Marcus? And what if the reunion with Angela wasn't just a coincidence? Claire felt a stirring of curiosity. Was there something more to learn from her past? She could sense that today, though fraught with anxiety, was shifting into something more profound. Something was brewing beneath the surface, a chance for renewal, growth, and, perhaps, a greater connection. As they stepped inside the cafe, a flash of memory struck Claire, hidden passages from her own childhood, secrets buried deep. Was she ready to explore them? What lay ahead in that journey? With every ounce of courage she had, she knew this was just the beginning. What awaited her as they dove into the past? What secrets lay locked within those pages? The questions tinged her heart with excitement and trepidation as they settled into their seats. Claire took a seat at a small corner table in the cafe, the rich scent of coffee wafting through the air, mingling with freshly baked pastries. She felt a warmth growing within her, fueled by the familiar presence of Angela. Marcus looked around, eyes wide with wonder, as if he stepped into a world where everything was new. So, how have you been? Angela asked, her voice soothing. It feels like ages since we last talked. Yeah, it's been a while, Claire replied, stirring her drink. Life, just you know how it gets. Busy. Kid stuff. Angela nodded, her gaze softening. I get it. Balancing work and life is like juggling fire. One wrong move, and it gets out of control. Claire smiled, appreciating Angela's understanding. But beneath her calm exterior, Claire wrestled with her thoughts. The journal in her pocket felt heavier, as if it carried the weight of her past. We all have our struggles, Angela continued, sensing the shift in Claire's demeanor. What about you? Are you doing okay? I mean, really? Claire took a deep breath. She was surprised by Angela's concern, and for a brief moment, she felt vulnerable. Today was a wake-up call for me, she admitted, glancing at Marcus. I've been trying to keep it together, but sometimes it feels like I'm falling apart. Angela reached across the table, placing a gentle hand on Claire's. You don't have to carry everything alone. You have me, and you have Marcus. Don't forget that. Her words stirred something deep within Claire. She felt a swell of gratitude, a reminder that connection could soften the hardened edges of her anxiety. In that moment, with her friend's hand over hers, something inside her began to shift. Just then, Marcus interrupted, holding a slice of chocolate cake that looked too big for his small hands. "Mom! Look, this is the biggest piece ever. Can I have it?" Claire couldn't help but laugh, the tension in her chest easing. "That looks delicious, buddy. Just don't make yourself sick." "Not a chance," he declared, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Angela chuckled, the atmosphere around them lightening. "He's got his mom's spirit," she remarked, and Claire couldn't suppress a proud smile. As they shared laughter and stories, Claire felt anxious threads of her past begin to unravel in the warmth of camaraderie. But throughout their conversation, her fingers lingered over the cover of the journal in her pocket, a constant reminder of unspoken questions that still loomed. "Do you remember that summer when we spent endless nights talking about everything?" Angela asked suddenly, bringing Claire back to their college days. "We always said we'd write a book someday." Claire chuckled softly, nostalgia flooding her heart. "Yeah. The world seemed so endless then, like anything was possible." "What happened to that dream?" Angela inquired, peering into Claire's eyes, searching for the truth. "I guess life just happened." Claire's voice faltered, the memories bringing a bittersweet ache. "I felt like I had to let things go. Like I wasn't worthy." Angela's expression hardened, but not with anger, more with determination. "That's not true, Claire. You're so talented. You just need to find your way back. Why not start with the journal?" Claire hesitated, the familiar pulse of anxiety creeping back. But the glimmer of hope in Angela's eyes ignited something within her, and she felt a spark of bravery. "What if I could find my voice again?" she whispered, almost afraid to say it aloud. Marcus looked up from his now half-eaten cake. "You can do it, Mom. You're the best." Claire felt her heart swell, truth colliding with possibility. Could she really embrace that challenge? Could she rediscover herself amidst the chaos? As they wrapped up their meal and laughter faded, the warmth of connection remained, a promise that the past didn't have to define her. The journal felt less weighty now, almost buoyant in her pocket. With that small flicker of hope, Claire glanced at Angela and Marcus. "Let's make a pact," she suggested, excitement bubbling beneath the surface. "We'll dig into the past together. I want to explore what I've hidden away." Angela beamed, her eyes sparkling with support. "Absolutely. I'm in." With determination brewing, Claire felt a surge of bravery. What she didn't expect was her journey back into the hidden corners of her life would bring surprises beyond her imagination. As they finished their lunch and made plans for what was to come, a familiar flutter of anticipation filled Claire's chest. She had no idea how deep the well of secrets ran or what awaited them. All she knew was that she was ready to dive in, headfirst into the whirlpool of memories, because what lay ahead could change everything. Little did she know, the next page would reveal not just her story, but that of an entire community, one that would challenge everything she believed. The cafe buzzed with energy as Claire took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the room. She felt a mix of excitement and dread about the pact she just made. The weight of the journal pressed against her thigh, a constant reminder that she was on the brink of something big. As they walked out into the crisp afternoon air, Claire faced the reality ahead of them. Exploring the past sounded thrilling, but what if she found something that disturbed the fragile peace in her heart? Angela and Marcus chatted animatedly nearby, oblivious to Claire's internal battle. "Mom! Can we go to the park?" Marcus chirped, tugging on her sleeve with an enthusiasm that made her smile, even if her heart felt heavy. "Of course." "Right after one more stop," Claire replied, trying to sound upbeat. She turned and led them toward the small bookstore just down the street. It had been ages since she visited, but something told her it might hold the key to igniting her rediscovered passion. Entering the bookstore was like stepping into a time capsule. The smell of aged paper lingered in the air, and colorful spines lined the shelves, waiting to share their stories. Claire felt the tension in her shoulders ease just a little. Books were always a sanctuary for her, an escape where she could forget the chaos of life. "Can we read a book, Mom?" Marcus asked, bouncing on his heels. His innocence was infectious, and Claire couldn't help but grin. "Sure. Pick one," she encouraged, watching as he wandered off to the children's section. Angela approached Claire, her expression warm yet curious. "Are you okay, really? I mean, that whole digging into the past thing, it's a lot." "I know it is," Claire sighed, glancing at Marcus who was now flipping through a picture book. "But I feel like it's time. I've kept running away from my story for too long." Angela regarded her with a thoughtful look, then nodded in understanding. "Just promise me you'll take it slow. This isn't a race, alright? It's about rediscovering yourself." Claire smiled, feeling a buoyancy in her heart. "Deal." While Marcus was engrossed in colorful pages, Claire wandered the aisles, fingers grazing the spines of books that had once inspired her, stories that had danced in her mind. As she rounded a corner, a familiar title caught her eye, an anthology of essays that had stirred her so many years ago. "Claire!" Angela called, breaking her reverie. A moment later, she joined Claire, holding a small leather-bound journal. "Look at this." Claire's breath caught in her throat. The journal had an exquisite design, embossed with delicate patterns. Angela's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I thought it might be a nice gift for you. To replace the old one." "You shouldn't have," Claire said softly, overwhelmed with gratitude. "I want you to remember that penning your thoughts is important," Angela said. "Your voice matters. Let us make this journey unforgettable." Claire held the journal in her hands, feeling its potential. Her heart swelled with a mix of hope and fear. What stories had she kept inside? What secrets were waiting to be uncovered? She opened the first page and found the stark white sheet blank, inviting her. Just then, Marcus joined them, beaming with a book about dinosaurs. "Mom, look! Will you read this to me?" "Of course." Claire replied, excitement pouring back in. She wasn't just a mother, she was a storyteller too. They settled onto a cozy couch tucked away in a corner, laughter bubbling as she read. Yet, in the back of her mind, the journal sat, reminding her of her promise to write. Could embracing her past enhance their present? As the pages turned, a lightness enveloped her, but deep down, Claire felt the tug of uncharted waters awaiting her. What secrets from her past would come to light? Just then, a loud crash broke the warm atmosphere, jolting Claire from her thoughts. She turned sharply toward the entrance, where a commotion erupted. "Who is there?" a voice shouted, sending a shiver down her spine. Suddenly, Claire understood her journey into the past might lead straight into chaos. What had she unknowingly stepped into? Claire's heart raced as she stood frozen in the bookstore. The commotion outside intensified, voices raised in alarm. She instinctively reached for Marcus, pulling him close while Angela stepped in front, protective and alert. "Stay behind me," Angela whispered fiercely, her eyes darting toward the entrance. Claire felt the warmth of Marcus pressed against her side, grounding her amidst the rising panic. She fumbled for her phone, contemplating whether to call for help, but the situation felt too immediate, too chaotic. What if danger was right outside? Her imagination conjured images of disruptors, people torn from their lives but defined by chaos, a haunting reflection of her own past. Angela's posture shifted, and she peeked cautiously around the corner. "You two, stay here," she instructed, her voice low and firm. "Mom, what is happening?" Marcus whispered, his small hand trembling slightly in Claire's grip. Claire forced a smile, trying to mask her own anxiety. "It's okay, sweetie. Just a little noise. Nothing to worry about." But her words felt hollow. She wanted to believe it too. Suddenly, the door swung wide open, and a group of teens burst in, laughter spilling out as if they were just coming from a party. One boy, a tall figure with spiky hair, carried a stack of books precariously in his arms. As they entered, the tension dissipated slightly, but Claire's heart didn't settle. "Whoa, look at this place!" he exclaimed, scanning the shelves with a gleeful grin. Angela relaxed visibly, but Claire remained on guard, unable to shake the feeling of unease. "They shouldn't be shouting like that," she mumbled under her breath. Before Claire could process everything, the boy's foot tapped against something solid, and venturing beyond the crowd of giggles, he stumbled. A chair toppled, hitting the edge of a bookshelf, and books rained down. The scene erupted once again, panic swirling through the air as the sudden crash echoed around the room. "Hey! Watch it!" shouted a woman from the back of the store, hands on her hips. She shouldered her way through the crowd, her annoyance apparent. Claire watched wide-eyed, caught between wanting to intervene and not wanting to incur more chaos. "Let us just go." Angela grabbed her hand, tugging Claire and Marcus toward the exit. Outside, the sunlight bathed them in warmth, offering a stark contrast to the frenzy inside. But as they stepped outside, a sense of relief washed over Claire, mixed with a new worry. "What are we running from?" Angela demanded, looking back over her shoulder. "Not running," Claire said firmly. "Just rethinking." She wasn't sure how to explain her rapidly spinning thoughts. The tranquility she craved felt shattered, even as laughter bubbled up from Marcus. Was this the kind of energy she needed? But her rare resolve faded as silence settled around them. Claire turned slightly, that ever-present weight of the journal in her bag becoming heavier. She realized she could no longer skirt around the truth. "Angela, I need to write," she confessed abruptly, her voice steady yet tinged with urgency. Angela raised an eyebrow. "Now? After all that?" Claire nodded, her gaze fixed straight ahead. "Yes. I need to turn this chaos into something meaningful. It's time." Resigned yet defiant, they strolled towards the park, Marcus jumping ahead, blissfully unaware of the shifting dynamics. "Okay, but where do we start?" Angela prompted, a hint of excitement dancing behind her concern. "Every story begins somewhere," Claire mused, contemplating the first word she might write. But what if this was just the beginning of a more significant one? Marcus squealed with delight, pointing out a group of children playing. But as Claire inhaled the crisp air, she felt a shiver race down her spine. What deeper connections lurked beneath the surface of her memories? As she sat down on a nearby bench, journal poised in her lap, she could just feel the story whispering, fluttering at the edge of her consciousness, waiting for her to uncover it. But would the chaos of the present obstruct her from accessing the past? Suddenly, a familiar face appeared amidst the crowd, someone she thought she'd left behind long ago, someone who could pull her back into the depths of her story. "Claire," came the voice, dragging her back to unexpected shadows of her past. "Is that really you?" She could no longer run. How deep did the rabbit hole go? Claire's breath caught in her throat. The familiar voice sent ripples through her, awakening half-forgotten memories. She turned slowly, dread and curiosity wrestling within her. "Jessica?" She finally managed, her voice a mere whisper. The woman before her had changed. The confident girl Claire once knew now wore the weight of the world on her shoulders. Jessica's hair was tied back in a loose bun, dark circles hovered under her bright blue eyes, and yet, even after all these years, there was a spark of warmth that felt like home. "What are you doing here?" Claire's heart raced. "Just visiting some friends," Jessica replied, a faint smile breaking through her nerves. She glanced at Marcus, who had retreated to the safety of Angela's side. "And you?" "It's been a while." A million emotions flooded through Claire. "Yeah, it has," she said, struggling to hold on to the present. "I didn't expect to see you here. After everything." Jessica's smile faded a little as she shuffled on her feet. "I know. I came back to sort things out, you know." The tension remained heavy between them, like a swinging pendulum, waiting to tip into something profound or painful. Claire felt a surge of longing to delve deeper, to learn what had brought Jessica back, but the chaos from before still echoed in her mind. Suddenly, Marcus broke the silence, his innocent voice cutting through the thick air. "Are you friends?" he asked, tilting his head to look up at Claire and Jessica. "Yes, we were," Claire started, but Jessica interjected. "And I hope we can be again," she said, her eyes shimmering with sincerity. Claire swallowed hard, torn between the past that had scarred her and the present's flicker of something new. "What happened to us was hard for both of us," she admitted, her fingers clenching the pages of her journal, ready to open questions she hadn't dared to face. "I thought you were gone for good." "Life pulls us in directions we never expect," Jessica replied softly, dropping her gaze for a moment before fixing it back on Claire. "But that's why I'm back. I want to make amends, to understand how we drifted apart." Angela watched the exchange with careful eyes, sensing the fragile thread that held their friendship together even after the years. "Maybe this chaos is the perfect place to start," she suggested gently, her voice light but encouraging. Claire hesitated. Did she want to explore that possibility? Could this moment hold the answers she needed? The sun shone down on them, and the park felt alive with laughter and noise, echoing the chance for something greater, a reunion, a reconciliation. Okay," Claire finally whispered, adrenaline rushing through her. "It's time we talked. There's so much to uncover." Jessica nodded, her expression brightening with hope. The park seemed to lean in closer, as if ready to listen to the secrets they had buried. "What about the rest of our story?" Claire asked quietly. "Is there still a way to rewrite it?" Jessica stepped closer, her expression earnest. "There's always a way to rewrite our story, Claire." As the wind rustled the leaves above them and chirps of children played in the distance, Claire felt the curtain rise on what could be a beautiful new chapter, one where friendships could heal and understanding could flourish. But just as she felt a sense of calm settling around them, a loud shriek pierced the air, drawing her attention toward a commotion near the playground. Children were scattering, and parents were rushing, panic skimming over the once peaceful scene. "What now?" Angela murmured, the tension rising once more. Claire's heart raced again, drowning in a wave of uncertainty. Would this chaos pull them apart yet again? Was she ready to confront not just her past with Jessica but whatever darkness lurked just beyond the laughter? "Let us go see," Claire said, steeling herself for whatever awaited. But just as they moved toward the noise, a figure emerged from the crowd, someone who could change everything once again. "Claire." "Jessica." The voice was unmistakable, dripping with urgency and shadowy history. What had she truly awoken? The figure pushing through the crowd felt like a jolt to Claire's heart. She knew that voice too well, one that had haunted her thoughts more than she liked to admit. The chaos receded slightly, the laughter and shouts dimmed as her focus narrowed on the person heading towards them. "Ethan," she whispered in disbelief, instinctively grabbing Jessica's arm. Ethan's face was flushed, wide eyes scanning for recognition amidst the commotion. His hair fell into his eyes, and for a second, he looked like the boy Claire had shared so many late-night secrets with, but the urgency in his step stripped that image away. "Claire." "Jessica." He called again, his voice laced with desperation. The park was now in disarray. Children were crying, parents frantically seeking their own. Claire noticed Marcus tugging on Angela's sleeve, his confused little face reflecting the uncertainty surrounding them. "What has happened?" Claire asked, forcing herself to step towards him, the memories of their past swirling like a potent storm inside her. "There's been an accident on the other side of the park," Ethan gasped, the words tumbling out in fragments. "I saw someone collapse. I think it might be serious." Panic coursed through Claire. In that moment, the lingering warmth she had felt upon seeing Jessica faded, replaced by a gnawing fear that tightened around her heart. "Was it a kid?" Angela interjected, her eyes wide. Ethan shook his head. "I have no idea. But the paramedics are already on their way. We should go check, make sure everyone's okay." Adrenaline surged through Claire. A strange mix of dread and determination filled her. "Let us move," she said, instinctively gripping Jessica's hand. As they ventured closer to the source of the commotion, the air thickened with tension. Claire felt the weight of her and Jessica's previous conversation heavy between them, the fragile thread of their reunion feeling increasingly overshadowed by urgency. Marcus, sensing the shift, kept close to Angela, his small hand resting firmly in hers as they navigated through the throngs of worried faces. Then they turned the corner, pushing through a cluster of spectators, and the scene before them crashed into clarity. There, on the ground, lay a woman. A vivid red puddle snaked out from under her, stark against the green grass. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Claire's stomach dropped. Memories of heartbreak swirled in her mind. Hadn't they just begun to face the ghosts of the past? And now this? "Call an ambulance!" Someone shouted, breaking the spell of shock that had gripped the onlookers. Jessica instinctively knelt beside the woman, looking for signs of life, while Claire fought to steady her breath. The once lively park was now eerily silent, all eyes fixed on the scene unfolding before them. "Claire," Jessica's voice pulled her back. "We need to help. Can you check for pulse? I'll look for any injuries." Claire nodded mechanically, her heart pounding as she mimicked Jessica's movements. She placed her fingers delicately against the woman's neck, holding her breath. Come on," she whispered, desperation bleeding into her voice. As she felt a weak pulse thrum beneath her fingers, relief washed over her. "I think she's alive," Claire cried out, her voice cutting through the tension. But just as hope flickered, a shadow loomed at the edge of her vision, a dark figure that made her stomach sink again. Ethan's voice trembled as he glanced past her. She turned to see who he was looking at, and her heart skipped a beat when she caught sight of someone unexpected. "Mom." The word flew from her lips, clarity striking with a power that left her shaken. What was her mother doing here, and what did this mean for everything fragile she tried to fix today? As the realization crashed upon her, Claire knew that this day was on the brink of unraveling even deeper connections and further turmoil. What had truly begun to awaken? The chaos of the park amplified as Claire's eyes locked onto her mother's familiar face. Every feeling she had tried to suppress began crashing down like waves in a storm. "Mom." Claire's voice wavered as disbelief mingled with a twist of old resentment. "Claire." Her mother rushed over, panic etched across her face. "I heard there was an accident. Are you okay? Is Marcus okay?" "Why yeah, we're fine," Claire stammered, still grappling with the flood of emotions swirling within her. Was this reunion a blessing or a curse? Her mother's gaze darted past Claire, eyes landing on the woman on the ground. Claire felt a sharp twist of déjà vu, as memories of their own tumultuous past and the frustration of growing up felt like a distant echo. Yet buried beneath the anger was a lingering tenderness. Claire's voice shook, "I didn't expect to see you here. I thought you moved on after everything happened." Her mother took a step closer, voice softening. "I had to come back. I didn't know you needed me until now." Before Claire could reply, Jessica stood up beside the unconscious woman, her brow furrowing with concern. "We need to get her support." She turned to Claire, eyes wide. "Can you call for help?" With her heart racing and her mind swirling, Claire nodded, quickly pulling out her phone. As she dialed, thoughts raced through her head. Could she truly forgive her mother? Were they at the brink of a new understanding, or was this just another cycle of hurt? "Stay with her," Jessica urged, kneeling down again, while Claire relayed critical details to the dispatcher. The world around her faded, focusing solely on the life lingering on the grass. The cries of children and murmurs of parents became indistinct noise. As the sirens wailed in the distance, Claire felt a strange clarity wash over her. Could she allow herself to seek not just reconciliation with her mother but to untangle her past with Angela and the memories of Jessica? A familiar warmth seeped into her chest, reminiscent of the hope Agnes had sparked. This moment in time echoed the fragility of life and the opportunity for healing, a reminder of how connection could light the darkest paths. The pulse beneath her fingers was faint but steady, blending hope with her burgeoning memories. The paramedics arrived, rushing through the crowd, and Claire instinctively stepped back, watching Jessica guide them with assurance. Suddenly, she felt a small hand slip into hers. Marcus, his eyes wide with concern. The sight of him swept through her, solidifying her resolve. "Mom, is she going to be okay?" Marcus asked, voice trembling faintly. Claire bent down, meeting his gaze. "I think so, buddy. They're going to help her now." And it struck her, as much as she needed to confront her past, she had to ensure Marcus grew up understanding the beauty in embracing community, facing fears, and allowing compassion to resonate. "Claire," her mother's voice broke through her contemplation. "I'm here for you now. Let us not let our past define what we can have together." Claire inhaled deeply, finding that flicker of possibility resurfacing. "I want that, Mom." Their eyes locked, finding a shared space of vulnerability and acceptance. It wasn't about erasing what had happened or pretending everything was perfect, it was about moving forward. Together, the paramedics took over as Claire and her mother stood side by side, witnessing a small miracle unfold, feeling moments of clarity pinching the air. Jessica, who had been a constant presence, looked to Claire with a knowing smile. "You're stronger than you think, Claire. And you're not alone." As the chaos began to calm and the paramedics worked diligently on the woman, Claire felt the tightening knots of her past start to unravel. The swirling emotions became a little less daunting when shared, and she could finally see the path forward. Today was just a snapshot in life's complexity. There may still be challenges ahead, and old wounds might still ache, but as Claire took a step towards her mother, and another towards Marcus, she saw the threads of possibility interlacing around them, ready to be woven into a stronger fabric. "Let us write a new story," Claire whispered, a resolve growing. As they stood amidst the scattered remnants of chaos, Claire realized she was no longer defined by the shadows of her past. She was alive, surrounded by love, and learning to embrace everything, all the pain, the connections, the journey ahead. Moments later, she pulled the journal from her pocket and opened it, allowing its blank pages to inspire her. With the warmth of her community alongside her, Claire was ready to face whatever came next. Today was the day everything shifted. Today marked the beginning of not just her healing, but a chance for change, a story waiting to be written anew. If you're inspired by this transformation and want more heartwarming stories like this, you absolutely need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support by hitting that like button. I want to hear your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Comment below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. The journey doesn't end here. Let us keep the magic alive together.